everyone, this is Claire and today we'll be covering a project analysis on Canberra Crescent Residences. So if you haven't heard, this is going to be launching in the next 1 or 2 months or so, right? So today, coming to Canberra Crescent, there are a couple of things that we want to highlight and want to make sure that we emphasize so that you understand what you're kind of getting into, especially when it comes to price point, right? So right now, I'll jump straight to the main concern, right? So coming into Canberra Crescent, what we see is that there's actually a lot of EC supply, right? And we know that for EC, the entry price is always lower than if you were to enter a private, right? So how would this affect your prices? That's one, right? Why do some private properties that have ECs around still perform better? That means people are willing to pay more for a private more than an EC, right? And what's your chance coming in at a higher entry price to exit at a higher price as well, right? So today, if we compare a couple of ECs and private around the area, if we see Heron Bay at the Hougang Sengkang area, right, versus a Riverfront Residences, why is Heron Bay transacting at 1,005 per square foot versus a Riverfront transacting at 1,009 per square foot and still be able to achieve that kind of pricing? And it's really down to a couple of trades that later I'll share with you guys later. So the other thing is a lot of condos actually look the same, right? I mean, if it's old enough or you have no knowledge of whether it's EC or private, you would take it as the same, right? But so a lot of condos look the same as EC. If you look at it side by side and you don't know which one is the EC, which one is the condo, you realize also that a lot of ECs are actually quite well done, right? In terms of the facilities and all the upkeep of the property, right? But buyers come in, they want to be able to feel and the premium and to pay more for the value that they get. Okay, so coming into Canberra, we also know that around the area, later I'll share a bit more, but there are a lot of ECs in the area. And of course, the entry price versus if you want to enter into Canberra Crescent, entry price of you coming to buy a resale EC versus Canberra Crescent, obviously there's going to be a gap, right? So what is your chances of getting and exiting at a higher price? That's a question we want to answer today. Okay, and of course, I will set some price thresholds for you guys for all bedroom types so that you understand where do you kind of stop and maybe look at other options in the area. Okay, so this unit analysis will be based on these estimates, right? The land bid of the developer, Clement, getting the piece of land, it's at 783 per square foot PPR, right? So today we're looking at estimated from the developer, low floor prices at about 1,850 per square foot, average about 2,000, and highest floor about 2,002, right? So I think the developer is also benchmarking with the latest launch at Woodlands South, which is at Norwood Grand, right? That's already transacted at 2,002 per square foot for 2-bedder, right? So that's why I think what they are doing is they're looking at what kind of profit margins I can earn. But of course, here I will set a price threshold, right? So that you understand where you need to cut off one point at a time. Okay. So as usual, I'll go through the location, fact sheet, site plan. I'll understand a little bit about the supply in the area, some comparison points about surrounding properties, what are the EC versus private performance, and also in terms of every single unit type, what are the top choices in terms of the floor plan. Okay. So let's get started. Canberra Crescent is about a 7 to 8 minute walk from Canberra MRT. Okay, so you can walk this way from the MRT or one bus stop away. Okay, so if you are already living in the area, you will know that Canberra Plaza is actually quite a decent mall with decent food choices and all that. So I think within the Canberra area with a lot of BTO supply, there is a mall that is quite sufficient for the residents staying there. Okay, so where we are here at Canberra MRT, where Canberra Crescent is somewhere over on this side, on the top area, right? All these are all HDB BTO supply, right? So where you are looking at is also understanding some of the BTO people will also be upgrading to the condos all around on this side, right? So yours will be one, and would it be something that you want to enter into at this point in time, or would looking at these resale options around this area would be better? Okay, so that's something we want to answer today, right? Oh, also one thing to note is that this is a private condo, not an EC. It's also a harmonized project. That means we need to buffer a little bit more in terms of looking at the space and also looking at the price point that you enter, because harmonized projects would normally have a higher per square foot. Okay, so just now I mentioned about the condo, the HDB supply, right? But when you come down from Canberra, where this is all the HDB supply, right? This is also another HDB cluster, right? You have Commodore, you have Water Gardens, which are really TOP, one Canberra. These are all condo supplies around the area. But of course, on top, you will have some other options as well. So total, I think in the condo supply perspective, there are maybe about 8 to 9 projects surrounding the Canberra Crescent, right? So is it an oversupply situation? And would the price point that you're entering into be something that will be good for you or not, right? So we will answer that at the later part of the video. Okay, so this is the fact sheet. This Crescent Residences, right? It's mostly developed by King Leong. Okay, so King Leong has also done Water Gardens at Canberra, right? So we can also understand, like, before you go into Canberra Crescent, you can also go and look at Water Gardens in Canberra, or if you're already staying there, you would know that the upkeep of the project, how is it like, and all the other things within interior of the house and also on the exterior that gives you an indication of how Canberra Crescent can be built, right? So because developer is quite important in cases like this, right? Once I come into a place where there are a lot of condos for me to choose from, then I would mostly come in from a more emotional front where I like the facilities or I like the upkeep of the place, then I'm willing to pay a bit more for it, right? So this is important to know, okay? If you've already seen Principal Garden, Avenue South, Mayor House, actually they are very, very impressive projects. In terms of the upkeep, the furnitures that they give is also quite good, right? So I wouldn't be too afraid of this developer because I think looking at their past projects, they have actually done quite well in terms of the upkeep of the facilities, okay? So this is 376 units, right, on a quite a decent piece of land in terms of the size, and there are 4 blocks in total, okay? TOP likely will be in the 2030 year, slightly earlier, or maybe 2029, okay? And it's a 9-year project, okay? So unit type, they have only 3 units of the 1 bedroom. They have a 2-bed, 1 bath over here. They have a 2-bed, 2 bath. They have 3 compact, 3 premium, 4 compact, 4 standard, 4 premium, right? So it's quite straightforward in terms of looking at the unit mix, but later I will also share my top choices for all, right? So you can get to understand, like, when you go into the queue, especially when if there's a lot of people and the demand is high, right? You want to be able to know that you're selecting the right unit, and that will help you to exit in better in the next 3 or 4 years down the road. Okay, so here's the site plan. This is, I think, one of the developments that can give you a bit more privacy in that sense, because a lot of the condos around the area are all surrounded by HDB clusters, right? But this one right here, there is actually a small landed cluster, right? And then down here is all like kind of empty pieces of land. So at this point, I think the privacy is quite good. Of course, looking at how the development is created, right, because of the plot of land, I think they have kind of quite well distributed the facilities all together. Because of this small plot over here, they have kind of put in all the noisy activities over here. But of course, no tennis court. They have a 50-meter lap pool over here. All the noisy activities will kind of be around here, right? So for 376 units, I think it's quite okay looking at the facilities that they can give. Okay, so with harmonization, right, knowing that you're entering the project that's the first project in Canberra that is harmonized, where everyone else, your Brownstone, Commodore, Water Gardens, your One Canberra, they're all non-harmonized projects. So what you want to understand is also looking at the size that you're buying into, right? How do you buffer that with and comparing with the neighboring projects? And 2, the per square foot that you enter into will generally be higher because it's a harmonized project. Even though the size is smaller, you pay a higher per square foot, but your quantum might not be smaller as well, okay? So this is an example. Because of the rules of harmonization over here, right, your saleable floor area will be down by about 6 to 8% because of the aircon ledgers and how they measure the GFA, okay? So for example, today, with a non-harmonized project that is maybe 1,003 square feet, it's about 3 million, and today the per square foot is about 2,350. Okay, for a harmonized project, then you need to kind of minus it off 6 to 7 to 8%, and to understand that for a harmonized project, the size will be something like that. Okay, and then for the same price, right, the per square foot will definitely be higher. So coming to Canberra Crescent Residences, you will know that the per square foot that you enter into, which I'll show you later in a table, it will definitely be higher than your surrounding properties, but in terms of quantum, it may not lose, and it will also likely help you to exit at a higher price as well. That means your future buyers are gonna be willing to pay for us later a higher price for your project versus the other surrounding ones like Water Gardens, which will be the newest one. So let's come to the floor plans. Okay, 1 bedroom, there's only 3 units on the first floor, right? But if you look at something new and brand new in the quantum of like 800, you really cannot find anything in the market today, right? Wherever you go. And so here, I think if you're looking at 1 bedroom and you're okay with the first floor, entry price wise is okay, comfortable, and you're looking for something new so that you can hedge on the progressive payment, then I think this option is okay to go for. Okay, so I won't touch too much on this because it's only 3 units on the first floor, and this is really maybe more for own stay. Okay, then we have a 2-bed, 1 bath. So this one, once you come in, is an open concept kitchen, right? There's a dedicated dining area, right? And then dumbbell concept. They have also put some carpentry over here to put your washer dryer outside, right? But of course, the carpentry kind of covers the washer on top to prevent the rain from coming in. But of course, there's option of zip track. You can put zip track over it to just cover it up. But the good thing about having a washer dryer outside is because there's a water point outside, then you don't have to once you wash your clothes, you can actually hang it right outside at the balcony, which is more than likely the only space that you would do it. Right? If instead of putting it in the kitchen, you got to walk all the way to the balcony to do it. So I think practically speaking, it's quite okay, quite a smart idea to do. I've also done it in my previous place as well to put it outside, so it's easier as well. Okay, so on the per square foot basis, what we are going to reference from, like I mentioned just now, will be 1,850 per square foot all the way until 2,001. Right, and where I think we want to cut off mostly for all unit types would be around the 2,000 to 2,050 range. Okay, the other school of thought is that you can consider is also understanding that for 2-bed 1 bath, where are the other 2-bed 1 bath you can buy in the market today, and can you actually enter at discounted pricing? Okay, so if you look at Lindenwoods that just launched also in D5, it's at Cambridge MRT, right? They are going to start their 2-bed 1-bath. It's going to be around the 1.35 million range starting from. Okay, so today you want to enter a 2-bed 1-bath, at least a 2-bedroom at this kind of pricing. Actually, you can't really find, even in the resale market, it's a little bit, for new projects, it's a little bit harder to find already. Okay, so where I would cut off is somewhere around here at 1.14. I think it's quite reasonable still to enter. And if you want to rent it out, I think the demand will still be okay for a 2-bed 1-bath for people kind of just looking in the transition or something like that. Okay, but what I'll focus a bit more on is understanding where the profitability are for 2-bed 1-bath properties in Canberra. Okay, so this is Water Gardens at Canberra. Right, what I'm zooming in would be the 646 square feet. Right, they actually make about 135,000, which is pretty decent, right? And today, in today's market, we are already looking at them transacting at 1.15, and at 1785 PSF, right? So, and this is a non-harmonized project, right, for Water Gardens at Canberra. So if it's non-harmonized, once you add in the 7% again in the per square foot, right, you're looking still around this kind of range that you should look at. So that's why where I'll cut off is somewhere around here at the 2,000 per square foot range. I think it's still quite healthy to enter, knowing that in the resale market, actually they have already transacted at 1,007, 1,008 per square foot. Okay, yeah. So this is where for harmonized project, once you plus the 7% at 19 something, I will cut off something for brand new property at resale prices at around 2,000 to 2,050. Okay, so the maybe I will kind of cut it off at 1.5 million for a 2-bed 1-bath over here. Okay, now we come to 2-bed 2-bath. The only main differences are the position of the study. So one is kind of tucked on this side, right, and then the other one is there's a little bit more L shape and then tucked on this side. And then other than that, everything else is about the same. Washer dryer is on the outside as well. Okay, and there are only 68 units in total. Okay, so in terms of price point, we're looking at maybe from 1.123 all the way to 1.4 for the 2-bed 1-bath. Okay, but I'll explain a little bit more. So in the 2-bed oversupply, you know that in the Canberra area there are quite a lot of number of ECs, right? So Visionaire is one Canberra is EC as well, Brownstone is EC, Park Canberra is EC as well. But how many? Normally for ECs, they don't really release 2-bedroom units. Only a selected few do. So if you look at the overall 2-bedroom supply, actually there are not that many, right? So Water Gardens at Canberra actually has the most, right? And that it might be also why the 2-bedrooms are making decent profits, because there are not many to choose from, right? So coming to 2-bed 2-bath here, I think it's still quite safe, because you know that actually if I'm looking at 2-bedroom in the area, I just want a 2-bed 2-bath for own sake and I want to upgrade, right? Or I'm a young couple with no kids, or I'm a single person who wants to just enter in the 2-bed, then you know that actually there are not many options for the future buyer to come in, right? So that's why you see Water Gardens in Canberra, their 2-bedroom transactions are quite healthy, right? And also because this is one, the newest, and two, there are not many other options to choose from. Okay, so coming to 2-bed, I wouldn't be too worried about it. Okay, and you see for the 2-bed 2-bath profitability at Water Gardens, right? Healthy transactions all the way through. The highest profit is actually almost 300k. Okay, and the highest, based on the highest profit, the per square foot for the Water Gardens that transacted was about 1,008, right? And today we already see Norwood Grand, that's a harmonized project also, that transacting about 2,002 per square foot, 2,002 for a 2-bed 2-bath as well, right? So where I will cut off in this case, right, I think it's okay to go even further for this, because one, if you can, of course, you can enter somewhere around here, that'll be the best. Okay, but two, once you want to look at a 1.4 million 2-bed 1-bath, actually in the market today, it's also very, very hard to find, right? Norwood Grand 2-bed 2-bath has already transacted up to 1.57, right? So I will buffer a little bit more for this, but of course, where you can get something at the lower bound, that will be the best, right? But I think for 2-bedroom, I wouldn't be that worried about it. Okay, like I mentioned, for Water Gardens at Canberra, the 2-bed 2-bath, okay, transacted in the resale market at 1,800 per square foot. Once you plus 7%, actually your buffer is quite good, right? So that's why I say you can go a bit further, knowing that actually there are new projects around the area that has already transacted up to 222 per square foot, right? Something along in this range will be the best to enter. Okay, that's for 2-bedroom. Okay, then there's another this return on investment theory that I've shared a couple of times in my previous videos, in project analysis videos. Okay, so how you want to understand returns on investment is looking at if today you want to look at an option between a 2-bed 1-bath or a 2-bed 2-bath. Okay, and you want to see what's the potential returns on investment on it, because at the 4-year mark you want to let it go. Okay, so today this is a unit that I sold for a client. Okay, 4 bed, 2 bed, 1 bath facing the tennis court. Okay, this is supposedly the less favorable facing. And then of course another 2 bed, 1 bath that was already transacted before facing the lawn and the pool, right? So the lawn and the pool one would definitely have like a little bit more premium. So that's why this buyer over here actually bought it at 70k more. Okay, based on a 25% investment that you put in, the amount is actually about 20k difference. Okay, but the gross profit that this one was actually sold at, right, was actually higher than what he sold it at, because the market could not absorb that kind of pricing at that point of time. Or maybe he had some urgency to sell, right? He made about 233, while my owner made about almost 250, right? If you talk about gross profit divide by the total investment that he has put in initially, capital investment, right, the return on investment is actually 88% versus 78%. The theory here is that even though you might think that you're paying a little bit more premium for a better facing, right, you may not be able to get the kind of returns like the one that has a bit less favorable facing. Okay, so in this case, I think it's important for you to understand entry price and knowing what kind of future demand that you can get. Of course, the timing of the time you exit is important as well. So, and this brings me to my next point, right? So if we talk about returns on investment based on water gardens for a 2 bed 1 bath at Canberra versus a 2 bed 2 bath at Canberra. Okay, today let's say you enter Canberra at a 2 bed 1 bath at 1.11 million. Okay, versus you enter a 2 bed 2 bath at Canberra at 1.334 million. Okay, the investment that you put in is about 50k difference in terms of the 25% down payment. Okay, but the gross profit that's proven in already at Water Gardens for 2 bed 1 bath is about 130k on average, and versus 2 bed 2 bath at about 210 on average. Okay, the returns on investment is clearly more for 2 bed 2 bath, also because one, the price gap between the 2 bed 1 bath and the 2 bed 2 bath is still quite reasonable, and two, the demand for the 2 bed 2 bath is actually more. Okay, so we need to understand this. If given a choice today, especially for this particular case at Canberra Crescent Residences, I'll go for the 2 bed 2 bath for investment and for more capital appreciation in future. I would think the 2 bed 2 bath will be easier to exit as compared to the 2 bed 1 bath. Okay, so now we come to the 3 bedroom, right? Why I'm putting these prices over here is to set a price threshold, that's one, and two, if we know that the resale market already transacting at a certain pricing, you plus the harmonization effect, that is kind of where your threshold should lie, and maybe a little bit more. So the theory here is that if today resale is already transacting at that price, you're buying brand new for resale, exactly the same price, right? I think going for this is worth it. But of course, if it hits a certain threshold above, then I would say maybe it's not so good a choice to go for. First, if let's say you are only left with the high floor units, then, and if it's for own stay and you want to live there, right, then I think it's okay. But purely for investment, then I would think that don't have to go to the 2 high floor ones. Okay, so this is a 3 bedroom compact. Once you come in, there's an enclosed kitchen, but there's no window. Okay, you got dumbbell concept bedroom, so you get a bit more privacy for this bedroom over here. Then there is a 872, right? The only difference is the walk-in wardrobe over here. But these are only highest floor on all 4 blocks, or only 4 units in total, right? So I wouldn't regard this that much, because on the top floor, you know that you'll be paying the highest per square foot, even up to 2002, right? So I wouldn't encourage this one, but this one will be the compact one. Okay, but I'll go through a bit more on the other two so that we can compare after that. Okay, this will be my favorite layout, 883 square feet compact, but it comes with a study. You can also kind of break this down and make a bigger dining as well. Once you come in, you got dry and wet kitchen, sufficient I think for cooking. You got 1, 2, 3 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms. I think it's the main thing I want to highlight is that all the bathroom comes with windows, right? The kitchen also comes with windows. I think this would be a draw next time when you want to exit, right? Versus the 797 square feet, this one will definitely be better. Okay, so if you're kind of looking at entering at the 1,009 per square foot, I think for 883 square feet at 1.7 million for a 3 bedroom in this area for brand new development, I think it's still quite okay, but later I'll show you why as well. Okay, then now we come to the 990, which is the last 3 bedroom compact layout, right? It comes with additional bomb shelter on the side over here, and also a WC over here. Okay, everything else is about the same. You got a study dining area over here, and then 3 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms, also with windows. Okay, so the 990 should likely start from the 1.83 million range, and then you will hit about 2.1 range as well. Okay, so my rank by choice is 1, the 883 square feet one, right? The kitchen with windows, the bathroom windows. You can use the study as a helper's room. That means basically you don't hack it down to make a bigger dining area. So next time your future buyers come in, they know that actually this dedicated space actually can be used for helper if you need to. The 990 square feet has the additional additional bomb shelter that may be able to use for helper, but I think it's good for families. But at the same time, this will be a very good gap between this one and the 4-bedroom pricing, right? So if you're looking at something that is of course a bigger space, then this one can be one to go for. My last choice will be the one that is the compact one, but of course if you're looking at something in the 1.5 and below range, then I think this one will be a good option. But my first choice, if you have a slightly bigger budget, is to go for this one in terms of exit as well. Okay, so this is Water Gardens 3-bedroom transacted, compact 3-bedroom transacted up at about on average about 1771 per square foot. Why I bracket this is because I added a 7% buffer for you to add on to the per square foot that you want to buffer at. Alright, so that's why I think a good cutoff on this end will be also on here. But of course the views are different, the facility that they offer is also different. So for you to pay a little bit more premium, I think it's okay, right? But the cutoff should be around somewhere around here for a compact 3-bedroom. Okay, then I want to understand, right? The first question that I asked just now was between a resale EC versus private condo, right? Why do people still are willing to pay a bit more premium on around the same location, but for a condo versus resale EC, right? I think there are a lot of traits and factors to understand, but let me lay the ground a little bit first. So Huron Bay is TOP 2015, right? So they're open to sell on the market at 2020, and they've already been transacting, right? Riverfront Residences TOP supposed to be 2024, but because of the SSD, they've already started marketing and selling in the mid 2023 range, and now it's still a lot of transactions going on. Okay, but in the per square foot, if you talk about the both, right, Huron Bay is actually at 1,003 per square foot versus Riverfront Residences at 1,007 per square foot. So there is a 400 per square foot range that we're looking at in the Hougang area. Okay, and today if you look at two condos in Canberra, right, Visionaire, which is EC TOP 2018, started to sell on the market at 2023. Right, Commodore TOP 2024 started to sell at 2024. So the timeline is around the same, right? So today, if I'm a buyer coming into Canberra, I would also look at both options, right? One is Visionaire, maybe Brownstone. I'll look at Commodore. I'll look at maybe One Canberra and Water Gardens as well, right? So in this case, you see that actually the gap is about the same. Visionaire is transacting at about 1,004 per square foot, and Commodore is transacting at about 1,008 per square foot. Right, so what are the traits that you want to look out for? Right? Coming into Canberra Crescent at an average of 1.75 million at about maybe 1,009 per square foot, right? One, Canberra Crescent you need to cater for harmonization, right? So that's why for the per square foot that you see transacting at Canberra today, you need to add about 7% to make sure to know that actually you're buying new for resale prices around the same range. Okay. Two is decent layouts. EC layouts are usually quite good, but of course the other point is once it hits 5 years old, right? I've seen ECs that have hit 5 years old and then they kind of, it feels like it's breaking apart, right? The facilities are not good, the walls are cracking and all that. So that is where the third point comes in, where you need a good track record of the developer. If you've seen Water Gardens at Canberra, which is also done by King Leong, they have also done it quite nicely, but of course it needs to be able to last the test of time, right? So with knowing King Leong's development so far, I think they have been providing quite good furnishings, but of course we haven't seen the show flat yet, but we will be able to see it very soon, and then we will be able to determine whether this will really last the test of time or not. But generally, I think in terms of facilities and value offering, they have been performing quite well, so I wouldn't be too worried about that. And of course, because of where the land plot is, I think the views would play a part as well. Some of it will have a permanent landed view, so that will kind of make your future buyer come in and feel like that you're coming back into a very private area instead of facing HDBs and other private properties. Okay, a quick brief on this again. Right now, what we need to understand is, one, why do private condos still do better than ECs even though the price gap can be 400 per square foot range? If you go and look at Riverfront versus Huron Bay, you see a huge difference in terms of the facilities and offering that you can get. So maybe you're getting something smaller at Riverfront, but you're willing to compensate that for a better facilities and a better feel coming home. So here at Canberra Crescent, I'm quite confident and I'm quite sure that the value offering that they can give you in terms of furnishing and facilities, knowing that a good track record, should help you to boost your prices and make sure that you maintain it in that range so that you can exit fast also. Okay, now we come to the 4-bedroom, right? There are primarily 3 layouts. One is a compact, one is standard, one is a premium. I'll later go through the top choices again. Okay, so 1163, this is harmonized, right? So if a non-harmonized project will be about the 1216 range, maybe something like that. They count in terms of the sizing. Once you come in, right, dry kitchen, there's a WC, there's a home shelter, right? So this can be like a helper's area as well. Okay, 2 bathrooms and 4 bedrooms. There's an additional study as well, which you can hack, and then you can can kind of open up this space to be like a landscape living dining area, which can be quite comfortable as well. Okay, the difference between this one, and this one, right, is that for 1216 you get a wider living dining area. Okay, you get a study tucked at this side, which can help to serve as a helper's room. You can shut this out, and then the helper can get through to this side, and still you get a home shelter for storage, which I think is very comfortable. The other main thing is that you get one more bathroom here, right? So if you have a big family, you don't have to kind of fight through only one bathroom over here, but yet you can have 3 bathrooms to share for a bigger family, and I think it's very decent for a big family with a helper. Okay, and this one for 1216 comes in at about the 2.3 to 2.4 million mark, I think, on average, which 2.4 in the OCR region. Actually right now it's a 3-bedroom kind of size. It's maybe like 1,000 plus square feet 3-bedroom size in the slightly more central regions, in the OCR region as well. Okay, so if you compare to the 1216, which I just shared with you earlier, versus the 1324, which is a premium layout, the only few differences are, one, there's a bigger balcony over here, right? It's slightly deeper in terms of the depth, right? And then 2, there is a walk-in wardrobe. Right, so for you to pay a little bit more premium between the 1216 and 1324, I don't think you really need that to pay additional like almost 200k for it, right? So that's why I think my first choice would be this one in terms of looking at the layout, right? The first choice would be this one, second choice would be this one, and then third choice would be the compact one. Okay, and later I'll share a quick summary on that. Okay, so in terms of price at Water Gardens, looking at a 4-bedroom at 1302 square feet, the size wise is going to be comparable, because once you cater into a harmonized project, you minus at 7%, the size will be about the same, right? And Water Gardens in the resale market has already hit about 1789 per square foot. Why I bracket this is because I added a 7% on this, right? So where you should enter will be somewhere around here. Going to this range will be the higher floor units as well, right? So I think if you can do something like in this range, it will be a very reasonable price to enter, because today, let's say you go to Hillock Green or anywhere in the Lentor area, right, the decent 3-bedroom maybe plus study is already going at 2.5 up to 2.8 million already. So coming in at a 4-bedroom here, I think for HDB upgraders looking at staying in Canberra and have a big family, right, and by then maybe their income levels have gone up 5 years later, right, they will be able to want to pay for your profit for this at Canberra Crescent. Okay, so my rank by choice is 1, the standard layout, right, which is more efficient in space. You got one more bathroom. The compact one, you can hack the study and you still can be able to fit in a helper comfortably. So in terms of entry price, looking at 4-bed, like I mentioned, if you look at Lentor area, right, you cannot find this kind of pricing for 4 bedrooms. It's all maybe in the range of 3 bedrooms already. Okay, and then lastly, there will be about 200k premium between this one and this one, right? So I would think that the high premium for the additional walk-in wardrobe and a bit wider balcony would not be that worth it. So I would go for this one as first choice. Okay, as a quick summary, 1-bedroom, I think because it's only 3 units to look at, it's good for entry level, brand new development. If you're looking at 800k budget, you still can enter this, but of course it's on the first floor, so there aren't many choices of the 1-bedroom to look out for. So maybe if you're selling, you may be the only 1-bedroom selling in the development. Okay, for 2 bedrooms, I would highly recommend to go for 2-bed 2-bath. The ROI for 2-bed 2-bath would likely be better than the 2-bed 1-bath. Okay, and overall supply of 2-bedroom is lower, so you should be able to see decent profit, like how Water Gardens should be seeing right now. But of course, like I mentioned in my previous videos as well, it's good to take a more conservative approach today instead of looking at 3 years, now 4 years, or maybe look at a 5 to 6 years to 7 years time frame. Okay, but the 3-bedroom, the top choice in layout, that's very important because there are quite a number of 3-bedrooms in the area. So if you look at the ECs in the area, most of them start from the 3-bedrooms, right? So you can imagine that there are a lot of 3-bedroom layouts in Brownstone, in Visionaire as well. So you need to make sure that you choose the best one out of the lot, and of course plus the renowned developer and making sure that the upkeep is good. That will help with your prices as well. Okay, the 4-bedroom, the top choice will be the 1216 square feet, and then followed by the 1163 to the 1173 for safer entry price. Okay, if you're looking to enter a 4-bedroom there, then that's a bit second choice. The third choice would be the 1324, because between here and here there'll be a 200k premium that you're paying for just a wider balcony and also additional walk-in wardrobe. Okay, so here's a summary, and of course if you are keen to find out more or understanding about the price point and price thresholds, layouts, I think I've covered quite a bit in the layouts as well. If you're looking to visit the show flat, you can also pause this video, WhatsApp me directly to book an appointment for the show flat, and of course during the viewing I'll be able to share a bit more insights on the exact unit type that you're looking at based on your objectives as well. So I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.